Hello and welcome to Clever News Desk. We're reaching you live from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. I am Florence Joshua. Welcome. Senate President Godswill Akpabio has petitioned the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, seeking an investigation into alleged assassination plot made against him by suspended Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. The former Minister of Niger Delta Affairs petitioned the police boss in a letter dated April 3, 2025. In the petition, Akpabio denied the serious accusation and called for the prosecution of Akpoti-Uduaghan for criminal defamation. The petition, which was also copied to the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi SAN, comes after Akpoti-Uduaghan's allegation on April 1, 2025. Addressing her supporters during her homecoming in Kogi State, Akpoti accused Akpabio of instructing former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello and Governor Usman Ododo to assassinate her in Kogi State, claiming that the act was intended to make it appear that her constituents were responsible for her death. However, Akpabio categorically denied the accusation, calling it a heinous lie and a reckless and deliberate attempt to tarnish his reputation. The Senate President labeled the allegation as politically motivated, accusing Akpoti of attempting to incite political unrest and damage his public image. He stressed that the allegation was made without any supporting evidence. The Senate President also highlighted the severe impacts of the false allegation, especially given its widespread coverage across media platforms, including radio, television, and social media. Akpabio urged law enforcement agencies to treat the matter with the seriousness it deserves. Hundreds of youth staged a peaceful demonstration on Wednesday in Akure, the Ondo State capital, over what they termed unlawful detention of their colleagues by security agencies and government officials. The protesters, mainly students and youth leaders, shut down and barricaded the roads leading to the state secretariat, demanding the release of 3 of its detained leaders with immediate effect. Clever News, Imofonokon has the details.
Residents and youth groups in Ondo State took to the streets on Wednesday, protesting what they described as the unlawful detention of 3 young activists allegedly orchestrated by the State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Kayode Ajulo. The protesters were seen chanting solidarity songs and calling for the immediate resignation of Ajulo, accusing him of weaponizing the judiciary to settle political scores. Clever News Desk had earlier reported that 3 youths, Adedi Ran Gabriel, Yaya Bisola, and Akeju Blessing James, were detained after a confrontation with the Attorney General in his office on March 28, 2025. While describing the action as gross abuse of power and a deliberate move to intimidate and silence voices of youth in the state, the OSYN Public Relations Officer, Christopher Olisa, emphasized that the trio were unjustly targeted.
That he should release our Keju and the other 2 secretaries that are there that are in the captive now. Because now, if he didn't do that, we are here, we stay here till tomorrow, anytime. We cook here, we stay here, we sleep here.
They brought 4 count charges against them. And our lawyer told them that the magistrate does not have jurisdiction to attend to that case. But he just said no, that next 4 days or 5 days, they will attend to that. They should be remanded at Olokuta till April 16. And that's why we are coming out, that we said no to this unlawful act. They are trying to oppress the Nigerian youth, they are trying to oppress the Nigerian students, and we'll take it. And
while the Commissioner of Police, Wilfred Afolabi, who was at the scene of the protest, appealed to the youth to be lawful and law-abiding as their demands will be addressed, the angry youth are, however, calling on government and security agencies to channel their energy on the security challenges confronting the country and state rather than arresting innocent citizens. Imefonokun reporting for Clever News.
Meanwhile, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyode, has called on personnel of the Nigerian Army to bring an end to terrorism in Nigeria. The Army Chief made the call during a visit to the 3rd Armored Division, where he also commissioned some project at the Rukuba cantonment in Jos, Plateau State. Let's now join Clevius correspondent for details.
The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, who is on a working visit to the 3rd Armored Division of the Nigerian Army in Jos, Plateau State, charged troops of the division to adopt a more aggressive posture and decisively stamp out terrorists causing mayhem in Plateau and surrounding states. The Chief of Army Staff's visit comes amid the spread of insecurity, which has placed significant pressure on the armed forces, leading to widespread internal deployments.
When you look at our constitutional responsibility, which is to defend Nigeria and support civil authorities to make things better and safer in Nigeria, then I charge you to do more. And it's imperative that you do more. Because without peace, there can't be any development. So as an army, we will try to lead you well. When I say we, I'm talking about myself and all these your senior officers that you are seeing here, because the army is not about me alone. We will try to lead you better, provide as much as possible based on what we have been given by the government.
In addition to operational matters, the Army Chief reassured the soldiers that their welfare in active service and afterwards would be given the needed attention.
It's our schools generally, where our children, do attend. Most of the schools have realized they are in bad state. But I've challenged the Corps of Education to come up with an action plan so that we can see how we can tackle these challenges. I'm not always happy when I see soldiers' children leave secondary school and they can't have a meaningful life. I want to see my soldiers produce doctors, produce lawyers, produce engineers. So the issue of education, I'm going to take it headlong.
Highlight of his visit was the commissioning of renovated apartment blocks with a promise of further improvements. Gloria Atta, reporting for Clearview News.
The senior pastor, Fountain of Life Church, Jimmy Odukoya, has shared the spiritual instruction behind his decision to keep his dreadlocks, a choice that sparked mixed reactions within and outside the church. In a recent sermon he shared on Facebook on Wednesday, the cleric revealed that his dreadlocks were not a fashion statement and he would have cut it if God had told him to. He added that even his sister, Associate Senior Pastor Tolu Odukoya, had expressed concerns. While Jimmy acknowledged her concern, he stood firm in what he heard from God.
Let me tell you a story. Remember I told you how before I came back, one of the things I asked the Lord was whether or not to cut my hair. And the Lord told me not to cut my hair. I said, Lord, you sure? He said, don't cut it. I said, I don't know what you're trying to do, but I'm crazy enough to follow you. Let's do it together. I told you that ASP came to me. My sister's like, this your hair? I'm like, yeah. She says, you know when they try to give you like old adages, and she says, to clean a fish, you must first catch it. In other words, if you're going to bring about change, you must be first accepted. Truly wise words, truly from a good place, truly from a heart of concern. But I knew what God had said to me. So I say to her, sis, I hear you, but go pray. God will speak to you. She has a vision. She sees me preaching with my hair. She comes back and says, oh, guess what? You're not supposed to cut your hair. I said, I know. Because he already told me. Now that's not the part of story I'm going to. A couple of weeks ago, it's on a Sunday, and Pastor Tony comes in and tells me, and he says, there is a lady outside from Zimbabwe that came to see you, and she flew in from Zimbabwe. Now Zimbabwe is southern Africa. She flew from the tip of southern Africa all the way to West Africa because she wanted to come to church. I said, what do you mean? So I'm like, please bring this lady in. And she begins to tell me a story. Now she's like so excited. She says, people think I'm crazy. I told everybody I'm coming to Nigeria for the next 3 to 4 weeks. I'm just coming to church. And we're like, huh? What happened? And she begins to tell me the story. Listen to this. It was 2016. I was in New York. It was Thanksgiving. And I had a vision, and it felt so real. In this vision, I see you with your hair. My mom got sick, and I watched her die in my arms. And so I was flung into depression. I wanted to end it all. And all I knew was I had to find God. So I was trying to find him, like, I need God to find me. And she said, so I turned on YouTube just to hear sermons. It says all of a sudden pops up on YouTube is your sermon, and you're preaching mercy me. And she says, you don't understand, because listen, when I had this vision, I didn't know you existed. The person I saw, I did not know was a real person. So when I saw the man in the vision with the long hair preaching, I began to scream, this is the man I saw. This is the man I saw. She said, people thought I was having a mental breakdown. I was calling everybody. I found the man I saw in the vision. The God who hears, the God who knows, knew that at some point in February 2025, one of his children would have to see a man preaching. Guess what? If he did not ask me to keep my hair, I would have cut my hair. And when I popped up on the screen, she would have seen me with no hair, and it would have meant nothing. But the Lord who knew, fast forward 2025, she would need to see the man with hair, told me, don't cut your hair. And I thought he was doing it to try to prove a point. It was bigger than that. It was to save a life. Now listen to me. If I had listened to the opinions of people who told me it's impossible, who told me you cannot have the call and have this hair, it is not African, it is not godly, it is not God. God told me to keep my hair to save the life of someone.
The United States District Court for the Southern District of New York in Manhattan has given Nigeria's singer Davido Adeleke 21 days to appear before it to answer charges of intellectual property theft, according to legal findings cited by People Gazette. The lawsuit was reportedly filed by a group of 4 Nigerian artists who accused Davido of stealing their 2022 song, Work, which he alleged used to create his own soundtrack titled Strawberry on Ice in 2024. According to the legal findings, the matter started in January 2022 when the plaintiffs, in good faith, gave Davido the demo of Work as a national potential collaboration between parties, prompted by the group's search for a major breakthrough in the music industry. However, the plaintiffs claimed instead of working with the group, Davido, without permission, took the song to Emerson, who proceeded to steal and sample individual recorded instrumental and vocal elements of the work to create their own version, Strawberry on Ice. Davido was sued alongside Emerson, professionally known as Emerson, who featured on the musician's song and Wine Records, the music agency responsible for publishing and distributing the Strawberry on Ice. At least 184 people have been killed in Dominican Republic after the roof of the iconic Jet Set nightclub in Santo Domingo collapsed on Thursday. The country Emergency Operations Director, Juan Mendez, said 184 victims were a preliminary figure. According to the U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who confirmed the incident on X, at least 1 American and multiple legal permanent residents died in the roof collapse. It was gathered that hundreds of guests were inside a nightclub attending a concert by popular merengue singer Ruby Perez. Meanwhile, the nightclub's owner, Antonio, has expressed deep sorrow over the tragedy. May their souls rest in peace. And that's the news. You can follow up on latest events and happenings around you via our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Clearview News Dex, or via handle on X, formerly known as Twitter at Clearview Online. Many thanks for watching. I am Florence Joshua. Bye for now.